In this podcast episode, Lex Fridman hosts Jean-Baptiste and Kieran Cunha, two central figures in the world of open-source multimedia software. They discuss FFmpeg and VLC, the foundational technologies powering much of the modern video and audio streaming infrastructure. This expansive conversation explores the technical complexities of video codecs and containers, the philosophy and culture of open-source development, the intricacies of programming at a low level, especially assembly, the challenges of securing and maintaining widely used software, and the future of multimedia technologies, including ultra-low latency streaming and new codec standards. FFmpeg is introduced as the open-source powerhouse behind nearly all digital video and audio operations worldwide, decoding, encoding, transcoding, streaming, and playing almost any format on virtually any platform. It underpins giants such as YouTube, Netflix, VLC, Chrome, and Discord. VLC, on the other hand, is presented not just as a media player, but as a cultural icon, an open-source, privacy-respecting software downloaded billions of times, famous also for its distinctive traffic cone logo. Jean-Baptiste Kempf, president of Videoland, the organization behind VLC, and Kieran Cunha, a leading FFmpeg contributor and the mind behind the FFmpeg Twitter account, emphasize how these two projects coexist in a complementary binary star system, feeding off one another's growth and innovation. Video playback, as explained in detail, involves multiple stages: accessing the stream, demultiplexing the container to isolate audio, video, and subtitle streams, decoding compressed formats into raw data, and rendering that output to the screen and speakers. Containers like MP4, MKV, MOV hold multiple compressed streams, while codecs such as H.264, AV1 compress these streams using complex mathematical processes involving intra- and interprediction, transform coding, quantization, and entropy coding. Both guests underline the monumental complexity of these processes. Each component, from predicting motion between frames to converting color spaces in ways that mimic human vision, to hand-optimized assembly routines that exploit CPU features, is the product of decades of research and millions of lines of code. Compression is presented not just as a technical challenge, but as a perceptual science aimed at preserving human meaningful information while shedding large amounts of redundant data. At the heart of FFmpeg and VLC is a vibrant open-source community stretching globally, defined less by fame or origin and more by meritocracy and code quality. Jean-Baptiste passionately explains how contributions are judged solely on their excellence, irrespective of contributor status or background. This fosters a deeply inclusive yet demanding culture inhabited by many introverts and international volunteers. The projects adopt copyleft licenses, GPL, LGPL, to encourage sharing improvements back to the community, with detailed discussions around licensing complexities, such as the painstaking relicensing efforts and how commercial ecosystems interact legally with open source. Unlike traditional proprietary models, there is no single corporate owner, but a living, collaborative social contract. One of the striking technical themes is the extensive use of assembly language in FFmpeg and related codec projects, such as DAV1D. Jean-Baptiste and Kieran emphasize that even with ever-advancing compilers, handwritten SIMD assembly remains crucial for achieving massive performance gains, often tens of times faster than equivalent C code. This meticulous optimization matters hugely given how billions of devices decode video endlessly with strict real-time constraints and limited power. Assembly programming is framed as an art form requiring deep insight into CPU architecture, pipelining, memory hierarchy, and instruction sets for multiple platforms, from x86 variants to ARM and emerging RISC-V processors. To keep the craft alive, resources like the ASM Lessons repo have been created to teach this invaluable skill to younger generations and hobbyists, with the community celebrating contributions from teenagers who write thousands of lines of assembly code. The episode discusses tensions emerging from large companies using AI and aggressive automated tools to flood volunteer-driven projects with security reports, often without contributing fixes or funding. The fallout from the Google security debacle illustrates the misaligned incentives and stresses on maintainers, who are few but keep the backbone of global multimedia infrastructure running. Maintainer burnout is acknowledged as a serious problem, aggravated by vast demands placed on a small number of volunteers, such as dealing with continuous bug reports, legally complex patent issues, and even direct hostility, including death threats. Despite these stresses, the guests maintain a deep love for the craft and resilience grounded in focusing on the positive impact of their work globally. The origins of both projects trace back to 1990s university students pioneering early local network streaming and tackling MPEG-2 decoding. Jean-Baptiste recounts the journey from a modest student initiative at École Centrale Paris, evolving to Videolan and VLC, becoming a global player. Kieran outlines the eras of FFmpeg, from its founding by Fabrice Bellard through major milestones of codec support championed by key developers such as Michael Niedermeyer and Kostya Shishkov's legendary reverse engineering. This history includes tales of decoding proprietary formats like GoToMeeting's Codec, the trials of managing forks and relicensing, and the constant pursuit of innovation balanced with a communal vision for open access. Beyond streaming and entertainment, FFmpeg and VLC serve as vital tools for archiving and digital preservation, enabling institutions and volunteers worldwide to rescue and maintain cinematic and audiovisual history. They discuss lossless codecs, e.g. FFv1, developed to safeguard precious materials without quality loss, and the crucial role of FFmpeg as a modern Rosetta Stone that humanity can rely on for playback 1,000 years from now. Experts in the archiving community bring unique knowledge about colorimetry, obsolete formats, tape degradation, and the challenge of preserving intricate legacy assets, work that deeply intersects with and enriches the open-source multimedia ecosystem. The conversation ventures into future horizons, including next-generation codecs, AV2, H265 VVC, promising incremental but important efficiency gains over current standards, the ongoing struggle between royalty-free and patent-encumbered formats, and evolving hardware requirements. The guests see multimedia expanding well beyond current notions of audio-video into spatial audio, haptic feedback, volumetric video, VR/AR, and beyond, where even brain-computer interfaces might demand new codec standards and software. They also highlight newest open challenges around ultra-low latency streaming for teleoperation of robots, drones, and real-time cloud gaming. Jean-Baptiste's latest startup, Kyber, exemplifies this cutting edge, aiming for latencies as low as 4 milliseconds, glass to glass, through highly optimized protocols and synchronization across multiple data streams. Throughout, the spirit of community shines through anecdotes on how these tools power everything from VHS capture, NASA's Mars rover imagery, particle accelerators, military applications, to Formula One live paddock feeds. Despite being invisible infrastructure to most, the projects elevate global connectivity, democratize video production, and symbolize humanity's collaborative potential. The episode also touches humor and humanity, from the famous VLC cone logo's cultural memes, iconic but absurd, to the playful ribbing and spirited rap battles on Twitter X led by FFmpeg's social presence, reinforcing their identity as approachable, fiercely excellent communities. Insights into the practicalities of licensing reveal how LGPL licensing enables commercial use without forcing full open-source release, facilitating industry adoption of components like libVLC and FFmpeg. The social contract of license choices is described as a critical binding force in these worldwide distributed teams that keep the projects viable. Fundraising difficulties and the challenges large companies face in genuinely supporting volunteer infrastructure are candidly discussed, with a call to action encouraging users and enterprises to contribute and sustain this critical digital commons. The guests underscore the need to continue passing on the knowledge of assembly programming, a craft essential for extracting every ounce of computing power necessary for multimedia today. They describe the specialized nature of SIMD programming across hardware architectures and the elaborate calling convention gymnastics used for maximum efficiency. The ASM Lessons project and community efforts to keep learning materials accessible play a pivotal role in ensuring future generations can maintain this unique expertise. Assembly is portrayed as programming at its most intimate and awe-inspiring, akin to flying a finely tuned fighter plane with no margin for error. FFmpeg and Videolan projects provide the settings for many extraordinary feats in codec development, including detailed reverse engineering of complex proprietary video formats like GoToMeeting and Scrum-like collaborative engineering refining codecs, such as X264, to dominate video compression for decades. The discussion explains frame structure concepts, IP, B-frames, adaptive quantization, psycho-visual optimization, and demonstrates how these advances correlate with major video platform standards. It also touches on temporal compression schemes requiring intelligent prediction and intricate buffering. With the launch of startups like Kyber and open broadcast systems by the guests, the long-standing low-level engineering ethos rooted in FFmpeg and VLC development extends into novel domains such as cloud gaming infrastructure and remote robotics with stringent latency and reliability requirements. This bridge between open-source heritage and cutting-edge commercial technology embodies the evolution and vitality of the ecosystem. Altogether, this conversation is a profound tribute to the unsung human effort underpinning global digital video infrastructure, the late nights of volunteer contributors, the tireless reviewing by a small core, the heated but respectful code debates, the joyful memes, and the passion projects blooming into indispensable platforms. It reveals how open-source software is transforming entertainment, industry, archival science, and possibly even humanity's future interface with computers.